I'm absolutely delighted to have you on Filme Shilmy. It's wonderful to see you in London, actually. So, I mean, how are you finding it back in London post the pandemic?
I know. Well, first is the weather. I am totally confused. Every day I look at the weather, forecast, and I'm taking out this, and then suddenly we go out, and it's suddenly freezing. And the first memory now of coming back is that how in London you should have a bag with one sweater. You should be wearing a jacket and a shirt inside and a t-shirt inside that because you don't know from minute to minute
Yeah.
what the weather is going to be like. So that was a reminder of London, actually, when I came back. No, it's been great because, I'm such a theatre fan.
Hmm.
So last night I watched the opening of the new play at the Olivia in the National Theatre. It was an Indian play, you know that.
The Father and
The
the Assassin.
Assassin. And I've done a wonderful play on Gandhi myself long back. So I was very keen. And I know Shubham slightly because we did a film together last year called Blind, shot actually in the UK,
Yes.
in Glasgow. And Aisha Dharkar, I know slightly from Bombay. And I know Shireen, who was in charge of the admin and the dialect and this and that. She'd work with my daughter on the West End. I knew Sagar. So there were a lot of people in the cast that I knew. And it was a lovely show. And, it was wonderful, Anuj, to go to the National and see an Indian play house full on opening night. So wonderful feeling. And before that, I went to the Old Vic and saw another very interesting play. So it's been good. A couple of my friends haven't been here in London. They're all sitting in the south of France, enjoying themselves. I didn't realize this is kind of a holiday time as well.
Yeah,
In London.
true.
I didn't know that. So, but otherwise, it's been lovely. The hotel's lovely, and it's just lovely to be back. It's one of my favorite cities,
Yeah.
and I've been only here a few days, but it's been very nice. I've been enjoying myself thoroughly.
Oh, well, that's really wonderful to hear. And I think a warm welcome to you as well for attending of course, the UK Asian Film Festival as well. I mean, your contribution to the arts, especially film and theatre, has been immense. In fact, you've been working in this industry for what, more than 5 decades now. So I think when I mentioned that, I think your reaction itself just goes to show. I was like, wow, itne saal beat gaye.
and she's still alive.
नहीं बस
Oh my
भगवान करे
God.
नहीं बस भगवान करे
Everyone
आपकी
must be
उम्र
saying,
लंबी
oh
है.
my God, what a fossil.
Oh God, no, not at all, not at all. But I think
No, because, I started theatre, yes, almost 50 years ago. Absolutely. Film, Anuj, a little later because I've always said I'm an accidental film actress. I didn't sort of make it my life plan right from the start. It was always theatre for many, 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 many years. And only after I came to Bombay, I mean, people are very startled when they hear that, I started a film career in my mid-40s as a woman. And they say, oh my God. So after 5 decades in the business, they hear started a career at 46, when most women are packing up their makeup bags and sort of retiring. They don't join the industry at 46. I think my first film, Zubeidaa, came out when I was 46 or 47.
right.
So so I've been about little over 2 decades in films, television, and, now OTT, the web. But yeah, it's been, and of course, theatre has been going on and on and on and on. That hasn't stopped. I've always said the one enduring passion of my life has been theatre, and that hasn't vanished.
Wow.
So that's good. Yeah, but yeah, it is true. You're absolutely right. 50 years almost since I first hit the stage in Delhi.
It's wonderful. I mean, I think it's exemplary. And I think during the early late 2000s, when obviously you were prominently seen in Hindi cinema with frequent roles, especially at that point, I feel at that stage the star system in Bollywood was in full force. There was still that hierarchy, that that sort of stardom level. But do you feel somewhere that thespians and artists like yourselves were kind of sidelined because you did not fit the conventional look or style of a Hindi film star? Did you ever feel that at all whenever you were working?
I didn't feel it. I'll tell you why. Because if I had come in my 20s, as a couple of directors told me, including my Gadar director, कि आप कहाँ थी जब आप मतलब 20-25 साल की थी तो कहाँ थी? So I said, मैं दिल्ली में थी, मैं बच्चे पैदा कर रही थी, and मैं थिएटर कर रही थी. So he said, अब यहाँ क्यों नहीं आई उस वक्त? आप मतलब सबकी छुट्टी कर देती, I mean, got very carried away and all that. So what the point I'm trying to make is, if you want that kind of a career, you have to come in at a certain level, at a certain age, to establish your credentials when you become a star or a main lead heroine. So you have to come in at a certain age. Now, two things happened. I came in very late. Right now at 46, I'm not going to expect to become a lead character in a Hindi movie, a commercial Hindi movie. I mean, it's absurd, absurd. So what are the kind of roles I really feel I got sidelined by? Are none, because frankly, at that age, to start getting work and not having done anything in cinema before was itself quite a rare achievement, actually, because I had done no cinema before Zubeidaa. And the roles also kept coming, and I was very clear, as you said correctly, Kal Ho Na Ho, but I was very clear. Like my first 3 films were was Zubeidaa, Gadar, and Monsoon Wedding. Now they're all completely different animals. Completely. So this was my legacy from the theater. I never wanted to keep repeating myself. After Zubeidaa, I got a slew of films where people said, "Ab nahi Aruna Irani ban sakti hain, ye ban sakti hain, wo and ban." So I said, "Dekhiye, main Aruna Irani ko bahut chahti hu. She's a very good actress and lovely person and all that. But I don't want to be Aruna Irani, And I don't want to repeat myself and get into a groove and into a draw where I'm labeled, chulbuli, bhabi, or something. I mean, they're very quick to categorize you, especially in those days.
True.
You were the naughty aunt, or you were the forever forbearing mother, or whatever. There are these stereotypes that were there, and or you were the sort of the friend. All these things. So I said, I don't want to get into all that. I don't want to always, when you see me in a film, you'll know I'll be the friend, or I'll be the naughty aunt, or I'll be this, or I'll be that. So let me try to do a variety at least. And because I didn't actually come with a lot of baggage and I wasn't a huge film star, I could really do whatever the hell I wanted. I didn't have to live up to any image. A lot of very big stars, heroines, haven't done work for a long time because they want that one big major role again. I mean, for instance, Sri Devi didn't do anything for 15 years till English, because she was used to being a heroine and she wanted to be a lead in a film again. You understand what I'm saying? I had no such issues. I didn't necessarily want to have, the main part or anything. I just wanted an interesting part. I wanted to do some interesting cinema. Actually, just parallel to my theater work. It wasn't a desire to become a big film actress. It was just to enjoy another medium, which I was enjoying. I got a chance to work. I've worked almost with all the big actors at some point or the other. And it was great fun. I worked with some great directors. I traveled a lot. My films gave me recognition also for my theater work. There was a synergy between the two. And I think I've been very lucky, actually, because I have done very independent films, very highly independent films on very small budgets and some very avant-garde films also. And I think I've been lucky because I think very few actors have had that kind of range. I may not have, sort of been in every second Bollywood film, but I know in my body of work, if anyone were to look at it, it's a very wide sweep. The film I've just shot is a film called Noorani, Chehra, set in a small tiny little town in UP, which is with Nawazuddin, and it's a delightful film, very funny. It's launching Nupur Sanon, Kriti's sister.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. And I play this very feisty grandmother in a rural small town in UP who just sits on a cart, smoking the hookah, and cracking her cane, and she's very, very funny and very feisty. It's something you would not think of me doing. So I told the director, I said, I'm so impressed. After Pinjar, somebody's given me a role which is not exactly the way I look.
Just
Because everything
earthly.
gets caught up in how you look. In cinema, okay, so Anuj looks like this. So you'll always get roles close to what you look like. So I'm saying that is one kind of film in which he speaks this, sort of very Hindi भी वैसे बोलती है बड़े वो जैसे वो थोड़ा देहाती लोग बोलते हैं. And there's Americanish, which is like a completely different kind of film. I have a Jewish son-in-law, I have a black son-in-law, it's set in New York. And so I actually feel blessed that because I didn't have any labels, I could come into this industry and do whatever the heck I wanted. I didn't have to feel, oh, I was once such a big star and oh God, how can I do this sort of a role and how can I do that sort of a role? No, I can do anything I feel like. I can do a My Brother Nikhil and I can also do a Houseful, I can do a Monsoon Wedding and I can do a Baghban. I mean, they're very different kinds of films, let me tell you.
Absolutely.
Very different kinds of films. So in a way, I feel, I don't really feel sidelined because that yardstick is, if you say in Bollywood, आपने और काम क्यों नहीं किया, अभी भी लोग बोलते हैं आप और फिल्म्स क्यों नहीं कर रहे हैं बॉलीवुड में, so I say, but Bollywood is not everything for me.
It's not.
It's there's so many other kinds of cinema. There's also so many other kinds of creative work. I mean, I've done stuff for the OTT platforms. I've just shot 2 just now, and they're very different again. So, everything is not your visibility in Bollywood. If you take that as your yardstick, you could say, oh, I could have done. But the other problem, Anuj, is that us type ki films ban bhi nahi rahe hain, ban nahi rahe the. Earlier, now there is more presence for older actors. I would say even 10 years ago, one made something of the roles one got, but they were not large, important roles. And I say this with what shall I say? That male actors in the Hindi film industry, even the supporting actors, are always male.
True.
The kind of roles that are written for a Paresh or a Anupam, and I don't mean this in any sort of whiny way. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying that's the way the industry is. If you were to compare the kind of strong male senior actors' roles that are written in the Hindi film industry, you will hardly ever find those roles also written for female older actresses.
Agreed. Yeah, true.
Paresh, Anupam, Nasir, Baman, they'll always get very strong supporting, or even as Amitabh, of course, Amitabhji, all these people, they get very, Jackie, Anil, where are the counters? Where are the counters? Do you see of the same vintage, the actresses getting roles like that? No. So I feel we're being sidelined. I mean, those ladies have a huge track record. They look fantastic. They have a huge track record. Where are they getting those big meaty side, sort of supporting roles? No.
And we have so many strong actresses, like even
so many.
Supriya Pathak ji, so many amazing.
And abhi thoda khul gaya hai, with OTT and movies being made like Badai Ho and all, where the older actors and actresses are getting, strong parts. But this was not there even 5 years ago. Not even 5 years ago. So I don't know. People have asked me this before. I said, no, I don't feel bad that I've been sidelined or anything like that. I mean, it's a compliment that people think I am capable of so much more and I could do so many more roles. And why don't I do more work? So I take that as a huge compliment. I'm not the kind who has managers who go and hustle for work for me. It's always come to me. I've done 70 odd films. They've all come on their own. I never met a director. I never sort of, sent anyone to look for work for me. It's always come on its own. And I'm quite happy with it because there is enough that keeps coming and my theatre keeps me very, very busy.
Well, that was very, very candid. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I think, because we live in an era which I think is very media driven and PR driven. So I
Mm.
guess for you, because you obviously with theater, with any theater actor, when I speak with them, one thing that I find is that they're very grounded. They don't have their heads in the clouds because of the fact that they're famous. The fame doesn't allow to get to them. And I think I get the same sort of vibe with you also. So I
Yeah.
think in terms of shaping you as a person and perhaps as your craft as an actor, actually, what skills do you feel theater has given you, and how do you think that's really helped you in terms of uh, um, the way you are now as a performer?
Well, one is the thing you're talking about, that when you do theater, you're bottom line, you're a team player. You're a team player. It is not a medium that allows, the star system to flourish at all. It is very much, it's very democratic. It's always ensemble work. Even if you're doing the lead, you know that, you are maybe you're doing Lady Macbeth, or you're doing whatever, the main part, but you're part of a team. Theater's basic tenet is that it is ensemble work. It is work that happens together. It is democratic. That is why, people have laughed. They've come by mistake, say, before a show starts, by, just by accident, the doors have been open and they walked in or something before they should have. And they see me on stage, sort of cleaning up something, or telling someone, put that down there, or moving a piece of furniture myself, because I'm also a director and I'm coming for that last look. And, something maybe like off. And, in India, we don't even have these very, very sort of always grand productions. They're all, sort of sometimes smaller productions. And they are startled because they have this image of you as this star with, your entourage of your hairdresser and your makeup man and your, assistant and this and that. And suddenly they see me, after seeing me on the big screen in some big film, and they get totally startled. And what am I doing? Running around cleaning something on my own. But that, I think, is an example of how theater is so different. Yes, when I do go to set on a film, I will have my makeup person and my, hairdresser with me and all that. But it gives you this basic grounding that you come from the stage where everybody is equal. There is no star system. So it's so ingrained in you, and I have done that for 30 years before I joined cinema, that I can't take all this so seriously, having this whole attitude. And, frankly, I have no time for it. Because honestly speaking, even people like Judy and all who have worked with, I mean, it's slightly different, I must say, with people here, that whole sense of importance is much less over here with actors here. I think they take themselves a lot more seriously as big stars in India than they do here. And I'm also from a family. You see, it's training on many. I mean, it's not training, but your background on many levels. One is theater, of course. The other is I come from a very different background. My mother was a doctor. My father was an engineer whose passion was physics, who gave, talks at the Imperial College in London on relativity and things like that. So, it's a very different world I come from. And over there, everything was very, very grounded and very, very, what was important was intelligence and having a bright mind. And it wasn't all this. So as it is, I had to do 2 MAs to let my father be convinced I was semi-educated, and now I could get on with life and do whatever I wanted. But the priorities and the values were very different. So when you come from a background like that, and you're never allowed to think, not allowed to think that you are anything out of the extraordinary or anything else. Not because you're not talented, but because your head is, your feet are kept very firmly on the ground all the time. I come from a family, my mother was a beauty, absolute beauty. People say nice things about me, but I'm a very pale copy of the original. I remember Farooq Sheikh, a lovely actor called Farooq Sheikh, who you must.
Legend.
Yeah, a wonderful guy. He used to always say the 2 most beautiful women I have ever seen in the world I used to tease my sister and I said, no, I don't know what happened to you all, were Wahida Rahman and my mother.
Oh, wow.
So it was really very, very beautiful. But why I'm telling you this is, in spite of being like that, she used to always tell me that, look, if someone flattered me or gave me a compliment, she would say, oh, please, don't take that as something you've achieved. That's just something you got in your genes through, through the universe, through God.
Baghban
Forget about it. Forget about it. It's nothing important. You didn't do anything to sort of deserve it. You concentrate on what, talents you have, what you can achieve as a human being, so don't worry about looks. Looks are the most unimportant things. Now, when you're brought up like that and you come into an industry, Anuj, that is all about how you look.
Oh, God.
Even today, it's all about how people look and what they're getting done and not getting done and blah, 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 blah. It's a very, very looks oriented, if not obsessed industry.
Agile.
Not just here, anywhere in the world. This being on screen is a bit, it's a bit narcissistic. So I come from something so opposite, where you're supposed to just not bother, if you have decent looks, well, good for you. Get on with life.
True.
Do stuff for people, do stuff for yourself, fulfill your potential, things like that. So that affects you as a human being. That's why I love the world of cinema and I love whatever I've got from it. I would love to be a part of it as long as I'm alive. But I don't take it so damn seriously, And I love it when people tell you specific things about your work and what they've liked and, all that. Who doesn't like some kind of validation? I like what I do. And I do it with a lot of love, and I love the people I work with. But I also don't fraternize a lot with, with the filmy lot. They stay far from me, and it's for me it's work and lovely people that I work with. Some of whom I'm very fond of also. And I must say, whenever I meet them, they're extremely warm, they're extremely affectionate. But I wouldn't call them my close friends, for instance,
Yeah, I've learned that the hard way. I'm not true, actually.
Yes. And you should be very clear that, it is what it is. It is not anything else. And I neither sought it nor thought it. So it was fine, absolutely fine. I never assumed on it or presumed on it. My world was quite different. I had my kids, my husband, and my life with him, which was a different life completely. And my own family is not filmy at all. My father was never very impressed, frankly, with my film career. He still thought theatre, I did a pretty decent job, but film thing was, so even your own family, I'm not saying he dished it, but he didn't think it was a great achievement or anything like that. So when you come from that kind of background, I think the lens through which you look at your self and the industry is very, very different from other people,
I think what you said was, again, very, very apt. And I think a lot of people who are creators or even just our audiences watching, I think they will definitely resonate with a lot of things you're saying. But I want to dissect a little bit of your work and talk a little bit about your work. A lot of these films that you've done in mainstream Hindi cinema has revolved around rampant subjects. For instance, My Brother Nikhil, which is so, again, ahead of its time and one of my favorite films, actually.
Yeah.
It raises awareness of AIDS and homosexuality at a time when both these aspects were not discussed much in the mainstream front. Then, of course, you did Baghban, which highlights the neglect of elderly citizens and parents. Then, of course, Monsoon Wedding highlights the brutal impact of child abuse. So how emotionally invested are you with the societal topics explored within your titles whenever you do choose a project which is as heavy as these ones?
Because I come from theatre and I have directed 34 productions. I have a theatre company that's 31 years old now and is celebrating, it would have celebrated 30 years last year. Because of COVID, we are doing that now in July. I was always, one of the raison d'etre for setting up the company was to explore Indian writing, something you've written or XYZ, but in English, but the original writer is Indian. Okay, that was my main reason for setting up a company. People said, why not in Hindi? Why not in this? I said, because I want to take the work abroad. Our play, we've done about 3,000 shows at least across the world, over 5 continents. I don't know any other theatre company in India that's done that. So right from Auckland, Wellington, in New Zealand to Portland, Oregon, to the West Coast, I mean, all kinds of countries in between. And I said, if I do it in Hindi, I don't have the resources or the wherewithal to give subtitles to all the plays that we do. It's just too expensive. And, we may perform 2 shows in a certain city. We performed in Harare, for instance, a couple of years ago before COVID. And I said, where am I going to get subtitles? So I want it to be in English. It's not for NRIs only. It's for all kinds of people to come and see the writing, the production values of something that's Indian. Anyway, why I'm saying this is, because I choose my own material, I'm very clear about what I want to say through my plays. They're not just fluff. I'm not saying they're not entertaining. I'm not saying they don't have comedy or whatever. Entertainment is very important. Even if I want to tell you something important, I have to first get you to sit on that seat and being engaged. But I think the word I look for is engagement, not necessarily entertainment. It's to be engaged in the piece and be entertained if necessary. So all these subjects you mentioned, Anuj, I did those in a play even before I did these films. I did the very first play on homosexuality, mainstream play, in Bombay almost 20 years ago. And I mean, on a big stage with 1,000-seater and all that, which was the first original gay play written out of Southeast Asia. Mahesh Dattani wrote it, and I directed and produced it. And for the first time, people heard people talking to each other as gay couples, as there was a lesbian in it as well, and all kinds of things. And so it had already happened. A play on sexual abuse I did strangely around the same time that I was doing Monsoon Wedding. I'd already got a play that I was going to do. It was only about sexual abuse, and it was a mother-daughter relationship. So it was strange. It was serendipitous almost how I was doing these things on stage. And then, but you asked a good question. It's not, why do I love theatre? I love theatre as a director and actor because you get to choose your material and you get to do the kind of stuff you want to do. It's all in my hands. In film, I am a small part of a very large whole. It's Anuj's film. It's his vision. It's his narrative. I am just someone who's enacting one part of it. So I don't really have a say in what you are saying through your story. But if I'm lucky, sometimes I get films where I resonate and I believe in what that story is about. I remember My Brother Nikhil. Honor came to me and he just went on, I want you to do it. It was his first film. I don't have much budget. It's only this much I can offer you. And this, I said, I don't care. This film I will do because of what it's trying to say and what its content is. And I do this very often. You happen to have seen My Brother Nikhil. There are other indie films I've done, There was a very esoteric, he went a little like, it's a bit surreal and all that, a film called Punk.
Yes, I've seen that.
Yes. Which again, I like the subject.
Bipasha was in it, I believe, as well, for a small...
Bipasha was in it. She was this guy's fantasy. But it was about these little boys who are made to play girls' parts all their lives. The mother was one frustrated actress who couldn't get any, never made it. So she took this child and she forced this child to play these girl roles when he was very small. And he was so confused about his sexuality by the end of it. It was not brilliantly made, but I liked the subject. I liked what it was trying to say and explore, rather, through the film. So Baghban, again, the heart of the whole thing was a story that was very moving and very poignant. And there are many other films like this. I did Lunchbox that it had only two tiny scenes in it, and everyone was very surprised I did it. Again, Ritesh came to me and said, I just want to. And another thing is, we actors are suckers for any director who says, if Anuj comes to me and says, I can't do this film without you, like, G, it has to be you and only you. I know in my head, I'm saying, hello, that's a whole lot of crock. You can get a lot of people to do this role. But, it's very seductive for an actor to be told it can only be you. So he said, it has to be you. It has to be. I said, but, it's such a small part. But I love the film. I loved the film, the script. And I said, what the hell? Okay, we just do it kind of thing. Other films like this, which I liked, again, Pinjar was to me a very important film.
Amazing.
Because it happened to so many women. My father used to tell me, he came luckily from Pakistan before partition. We are Sindhis, and our homeland was Larkana near Lahore. So he told me these horrid stories of women who are abducted and all that. So content to me is very important. I don't always determine it because it's not my film, but I feel lucky when I'm offered films. Now, even the one I'm talking about now, Noorani, Chehra, it's a full-on comedy, Anuj, full-on and very funny, and it has a terrific cast, supporting cast also. And of course, Nawaz is wonderful in it. But what's the crux of the story? The crux of the story is this guy is very, very, very dark. He's been made even to look darker than he is. And nobody wants to marry him. We're also obsessed with color in India, that he has everything. He's a lovely man. But because of his color, there's nobody getting married to him. It's a very simple premise. But through it, it explores even in a commercial space, our obsession with color. The girl doesn't want to marry him, absolutely not, because he's just too dark. So, so even these bigger films, when they talk about something like Baghban or like Noorani, Chehra, when they explore something which is part of our social fabric that needs to be looked at, it's a lovely opportunity to be part of something that is, on a very high demographic level, exploring some important things. So,
yes. And I think this year as well is a testament to that. I mean, we've had some great films and have great films. Like we had Kashmir Files recently. We have Anek coming up as well, which talks about very important issues and important events that have happened, which needed to be addressed. So I completely resonate with that. In fact, I'm glad you mentioned Pinjar. In fact, I want to tell you, Pinjar is one of my favorite films of yours.
Really?
I remember, I was 7 years old when I watched it, but yet somehow I really understood what was being said. Like, it's very heartbreaking. I think for me, it's my favorite performance of Urmila also. Like, I think it really does show the really dark past of India's history, and it's a very, very sad past. And as you know, this year it marks 75 years of India's independence, which of course UCAF is also celebrating and remembering, I guess. So you've been a part of such films as well. I think there was also a film you did called Bo Barracks Forever, that Pinjar, obviously all these titles which revolve around that theme. But I think when it does come down to your core as a human being, when you are playing parts which are so gut-wrenching and so emotionally heavy, do you ever feel like you have to internalize on a pain or a grief that you've experienced to bring out the essence of that character? Like in Pinjar, for example.
You don't even have to go that far. If I just, the loss of a daughter in it, for instance, I lose my daughter. It comes so naturally and instinctively. I mean, fortunately, unfortunately, I'm a mother of 2 daughters. So uska chehra dekh ke mujhe, if I have to just think, what would it feel like if something happened to my child like this? And it just comes like it just wells out of you. You don't have to, for me, acting is just one thing. It is the truth of things, to feel them truthfully and be as natural and spontaneous in depicting them as possible, where it doesn't seem like acting. That was my mantra from my mentor, Barry John, that, acting is just about do whatever method, jo bhi karna hai karo. End mein, it must seem like you are that character. That's it. You have become that character. You're not acting. You're not performing. You are it. You are that person. So why do you have to perform it? just become that person. So for me, it's about that. And becoming that person means there is no craft and artifice and all that. Whatever homework you want to do on understanding the character, what she's been through, what her backstory is, you do all that. And then actually it's all about throwing it away. And then having absorbed it completely and understood it, when you're performing it, you are that person. And for me, roles like, Pinjar, where I remember that lullaby, which I used to sing. Yeah. So, Charkha Chalati Ma. So, I didn't have to do anything. I just felt so overwhelmed myself when I used to sing it, thinking of my mother, my grandmother, who must have all gone through things like this, the woman at home and the mother, and, all these sort of feelings that are part of our sort of, what shall I say, female legacy. You don't have to even do anything. It just comes naturally to you, these feelings. And loss of the daughter, again, or in Baghban, I remember when I say, I don't regret anymore that we didn't have children. See what has happened to them.
I remember that.
Yeah. Or that scene when I read the letter. Hundreds and millions of people tell me about that letter. And, because it was Mr. B and me, we did it like in one take. So I don't even remember what happened. It was all so instinctive and so, immediate, one take. So, people say, aapki wo jo chitti jaise aapne padhi and all. And I said, kaun si chitti? Kya ho raha hai yaar? So, oh, Baghban, acha. Because one thing about the film thing is that you do it and you're done, and then you don't even remember, what happened in that scene. Or they say, in Gadar, jab aap apne pote ko dekhti hain. This is what I mean. I get very touched. When people remember an expression or a line. The other day, a security guy told me, जैसे आपने गदर में जैसे अपने पोते को पहली बार देखा और आपकी आंखों में जो expression था, ऐसा है. Security guy at the airport has noted such depth of emotion in my face. It's very sweet. It's very, very sweet. So,
but I think it's good though that people do this, because I feel like
of course, instead of telling me, we are your fan and all that, when they actually tell you something like this, it really moves me deeply, because they will quote a line, even if it's a funny line. Even a funny line like BST bus and whatever and Kalona ho, that line also 100 times he will keep telling me, or Jism ki bhook and all this. And I say, listen, this Jism ki bhook, let me tell you the backstory. Karan comes to me and says, I want it like Bipasha and all. I said, Bipasha? He said, have you not seen Jism? I said, no. So he said, oh my God. So I said, oh, don't worry. I'll do it my own way. So, but you do it and you forget it, right? You don't remember these things. And this is not exactly Shakespeare that some major delivery you did. But it's too cute how people will come and tell you these things, they remember lines from your movies, they remember expressions, they remember, all kinds of things. So, but talking about being or feeling connected to material, it doesn't happen all the time, but actually, if you've lived life on so many levels, there will always be something in every character that you will connect to, that has, happened to someone or you can easily visualize what it feels like, even if it's not a very heavy, big subject. Still, it is human emotions, the human relationships. So I never find it very difficult to sort of get those feelings or anything like that. It comes very spontaneously and naturally, actually.
Absolutely. That's really wonderful to hear. But look, I think this year's festival theme has been Dare to Dream. And I think you definitely are an embodiment of that theme. You definitely represent that. In fact, I think you also represent the dreams of many other budding actors or fresh talent out there who are aspiring to work in the field like you're doing. And I think, honestly, your journey has been fabulous to hear about, Lillete. I think I've genuinely felt very enlightened about your experiences. And, it just goes to show how, humility and, rootedness to one's craft is so important. And I think it's just been so lovely to have this chat with you, honestly. I really enjoyed it. So
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
thank you so much for joining me on Filme Shilmy, and a huge congratulations once again on UK Asian Film
I
Festival.
know. I'm so touched and honored.
It's lovely,
And
and I can't wait to watch some of your amazing works as well, Noorani, Chehra, and Blind as well. So I think I'm looking
yes,
forward to that because again, two very distinct genres. Because I know Blind
very
is a thriller.
distinct films, very different genres. And the one I'm doing now is again completely different. The film I'm going to do in next month is again completely different. And then I've done a couple of these web series, the sort of anthology series, which will be coming out. I don't know if you guys get all that over here on Amazon.
Yeah. We do.
Did you
That's
see
the
a
awesome
whacked out one I did called Call My Agent?
I did. You know what? I was gonna reference that. You know, when you were talking about how you're not like with the stars and stuff, I was like, I swear this is so contrary to what she portrayed in Call My Agent. I was like, that Lillete Dubey and the one I'm talking to now completely pulls apart. So
Absolutely.
it was
But
very
that's
ditzy. I
why it was
loved
such
it.
fun. It was such fun to do.
The funny thing is, I've actually seen actors like that. Like I've actually seen actors like that. And I'm just like, it was. I loved Call My Agent. Actually, I thought it was really good. I really enjoyed it. In fact. So,
Good.
no, that was really
Okay. Nice talking to you, darling.
thank you
And
so
I
much,
will see
Lilith,
you.
ma'am. Yes, absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much, Lilith ji, and I shall see you very soon.
Yes. Pleasure. Thank you, Anuj. Bye.
Lilith.